What's up guys, Todd Kelly, Shuswap Outdoors. Today we are talking hunting boots. So for the last 15 plus years, these Scarpa Liscum were my go-to hunting boot. A really great boot that fit my foot really well. Kind of an entry-level mountaineering boot that instantly became popular with mountain hunters, hunting sheep, goat, mule deer in the mountains, just because it was such a durable, comfortable boot. I've only had to take these things out of service this last year because of worn holes through the leather, and that's also damaged the Gore-Tex lining in them, and they are leaking a little bit now. Unfortunately, Scarpa discontinued making these, and they replaced them with the Scarpa Wrangle, which right now I'm having a tough time finding any sizes. It does kind of get the feeling that Scarpa's discontinuing them just because retailers can't give you any info on when they can get some in the future. So because I had such good luck with the Scarpas, I wanted to stick with them. I picked up a pair of Grand Drew boots, which is a little heavier duty mountaineering boots than these Liscum and the Wrangles. I was excited to use those, but unfortunately they're built off of a little different last and they didn't fit my foot really well, and they gave me really bad blisters. So I had to get rid of those. This last year I picked up a pair of Loa Tibets because I wanted to try something with a little more flex, a little softer, and they have a fairly good reputation. So I ran those this last year. Unfortunately, I didn't have very good luck with them. They're currently back at Loa under warranty work. And when I get them replaced, I'm going to sell them or hopefully get a refund from the retailer I picked them up from. I do have a separate video on those. You can find the link in the description below. So the next company I wanted to try out was Handwags. I've heard a lot of good things about Handwags, but I've never seen them in person. So I found a retailer that has a really good return policy. So I was able to order a bunch of different kinds of boots in a bunch of different sizes. And over Christmas, I have over a month to return them to a retail store to get a refund on them, which is really nice. So it's given me lots of time to play around with these at my house. So one of the boots I picked up was a Handwag Alaskan, which I'd say is very comparable to the Loa Tibet. So if you're in the market for that type of boot, this is very comparable. And it's no surprise because doing some research, it looks like Handwag and Loa are brothers. So it's no surprise that they have very similar style boots. I would say the construction of the boot is a little nicer than the Loa Tibet. The fit and finish of it seems to be a little nicer than the Loa Tibets. But very comparable in the feel of the boot, the weight. Has a full rubber rand, has the same roller bearing style bottom eyelets, speed laces. The ankle lock does have a locking speed lace on it, which is nice. That allows you to get different tension on your bottoms compared to your tops. And the single rivet on the speed laces allows these things to rotate to where you pull them and they'll swivel, so they get a custom fit to the way you lace your boots. The speed hook on the tongue, I'm not quite sure how to use this properly. The Loa Tibets have their little peg here, which was kind of nice to help keep your tongue centered. And it was really easy to use, but I still can't figure out how the Handwag's supposed to be used, and I can't find a ton of information on them. The nicest thing about these Alaskans is the midsole, really spongy. I've never felt a hunting boot or mountaineering boot that's that comfortable to walk around in. It's very noticeable when you put them on and you walk them around how soft this midsole is in comfort. It is fairly stiff. I'd say it's a hair stiffer than the Loa Tibets, but not overly, not comparable to the mountaineering style boot. The Vibram sole is fairly nice, not super deep lugs on them. Once again, comparable to the Loa Tibets. but the tread is noticeably softer. The rubber they used, I would compare to like a winter tire in softness, which is going to be really nice in cold, wet weather, slippery, icy rocks. It's going to give you a lot of traction on them. The only thing being so soft is I can see them wearing out a little faster if you spend a lot of times in rocks and shale. Just the soft rubber is going to get cut up more, but these are resolable. So if you do wear them out, you can replace them instead of replacing your whole boot. Very nice boot. Sizing is always an issue, especially when you order online. I'm typically a 9.5 American, so I got a bunch of different sizes, and the 10.5 actually fits my foot the best. The 10s, I get a hot spot after about an hour of wearing them on the side of my foot here, which is nice having boots at home, because when you're in the store trying boots on for 15-20 minutes, it's never enough time to figure out those little pains that you get after a good solid hour plus of wearing a boot around. So that's why it's nice having them at home, and where I can put them on for 3-4 hours walking around the house and just having them on my feet. A really nice boot, but I don't think I'm going to go with these. Just because of my experience with a more mountaineering style boot with the Scarpa Liscums, I'm leaning more towards the Sirius 2 from Handwag. Very comparable in stiffness to the Liscum. So if you're familiar with these or the Wrangles, you're going to be familiar with the stiffness of the Sirius 2 here. Really tough, hard, deep tread, Vibram sole on them. A little narrower, which I like. It allows you to get better footing in rocks and cliffs and everything else. So I like the profile of the treads on that. As I said, it's fairly stiff. It's got the crampon compatible front and back, so you can use the step-on style or step-in style crampons on them. Full rubber rand. And the one nice thing about these boots that I've never experienced in a mountaineering style boot of trying them on is the leather is fairly soft, which is really nice. When you put them on, you lace them up, you can get a really custom fit on the lace job. Where I found a lot of the Scarpa boots that are mountaineering style, the leather is super stiff right off the bat, and you can't tighten them very much, especially in the lowers, which these ones were like that. So they had to fit perfectly right off the bat because you couldn't tighten the bottoms up very much when you lace them up. These things are fantastic. They feel really good. And I'm guessing some of that flexness comes from the synthetic material they use on the tongue. They do have a leather patch to protect from the laces on the tops. But a really comfortable boot right off the bat. They do have some synthetic up on the top, which will help with a little bit of breathability on them. They have the locking D-ring lace, which I really like. The Loa Tibets had something similar to it, and like I said, the Alaskans have that. And that just allows you to get the custom fit down in the bottoms of tightness. Do you want them really tight or do you want them loose? You can lock that off and then do your uppers a different tension, which seems to be really nice, allows a more custom fit. I did notice with the Loa Tibets, after 4 or 5 hours of wearing them, I would loosen off the bottoms, lock it off, and then do my uppers tight, which just allowed a little more freedom in the bottom and took some pressure off on them. As I said, for sizing, the 10.5s fit my boot or feet the best. The Scarpa Liscums were a 9.5 American, and in the Sirius 2, the 10 fit my foot the best. So you do really have to play around with sizing. It's one thing to get your foot measured. That just gives you a rough estimate because each boot and boot manufacturer is going to change, and especially on the different lasts that they use. The actual insole that comes with the 10 Sirius 2 is the same length as the 10.5 in the Alaskan. So it's really nice when you can get a bunch of different type of boots and sizes to try on. One thing to not overlook, every boot I've ever tried or looked at, the factory insoles are garbage. They're usually just a thin little piece. So I think picking up some aftermarket insoles is well worth your money. They're usually $40, $50, $60, well worth the money. These red ones here is what I had in my Scarpa Liscum. They're 15 years old. They're still usable. I'll be using them in my new boots. And they also come in different thicknesses. This is a standard, and this is from Sole insoles, and this is their thick. And don't think of the thick as being more cushioning. The thickness allows your foot to eat up a little more volume in a boot. So the 10.5 series with the thicker insoles from Sole actually feel pretty comfortable as well. They're just a hair too long. But don't give up on a boot until you try an aftermarket insole in them. They do make a huge difference, and especially the thickness on them. Anyways, that's a basic overview of the boots. I'll give an update on how this next season goes. As I said, I'm probably going to go with the Series 2 unless things change here in the next 2 weeks and I find something different. They seem to be super comfortable and are going to fit my need the best, just because I like a mountaineering style boot. If you are in the market for something not as stiff, definitely check out the Alaskans from Handwag. They seem to be a really nice boot. As I said earlier, they seem to be just a hair little nicer than the Loa Tibets. I'm not going to knock them on the Loas on the warranty issue. It is a Gore-Tex problem with the liner, more or less. But because I've had that failure with them, I just can't trust going back with them. Having wet feet at the end of October, November on a backpack hunt could ruin your hunt, so I just can't trust them. Anyways, check these out. If you want any more information, please put them in the comments below. I'll make sure to answer them. Check out my Instagram, Shuswap Outdoors. I'm more active on there. You can feel free to DM me there if you have any questions. And I'm going to be doing quick little separate videos on each of these boots, just in a little bit more detail. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like the videos.